Hi, this is Mindy Jackson, and I'm here to share about my Marti Elementary Makerspace plan. So my goals for the Marti Makerspace are to align lessons and activities with the TEKS that are currently being taught in class, to be organized with materials, how they're used, and the possible purposes for them, as well as curating the space towards student interest, which means more technology than I have been using in the past couple of years. So 5 educational benefits of makerspaces. One, it's helpful to reinforce lessons that are already being taught in class and in the library. It's a safe place to fail and then learn from it, teaching the kids perseverance in their learning and experimenting. It builds critical thinking and problem solving skills. It's an opportunity for innovation and creativity for the students, and also promotes collaboration and flexibility in thinking as they do group work. Using the UTech model, in the Marti Makerspace, we've begun challenges using Connects. And so through that, we can use challenges provided by the company in their booklet, tinkering, see how they would like to alter that creation to suit a different need or add a personal touch or something they think would be better. Experimenting, challenge them to use those connects to create a solution to a problem, um, or creating something different. And the C of create, watch them create something totally new that they can call their own, which I got to see a third grader do today. With the book and build activity, I really enjoyed the book. I did extra yarn because we have a plethora of yarn. And you can make, like I did, hats or bracelets. You can make scarves. I've seen things for yarn dolls online. One thing I've learned about problem solving through doing my prototype is there are big problems to solve and there are little problems to solve. And it's fun to solve either one, and they both need it. Inventing my I Amplify, which was my prototype, it was a really simple solution to a not very important problem of just needing to make your phone louder when there's not a Bluetooth available. And so that had a super simple solution, and it's okay that it wasn't a really important problem. And also, there was definitely more than one way to solve that problem. So when I invented my prototype that I call I Amplify, I found lessons that I can teach my students. That sometimes the original design must be altered. The wedge underneath this platform originally was not at an angle like that, but ended up being a much better way to do it. Then it's okay to try and fail and start again, which I had to do once. And also that even simple problems can have fun solutions and be an exciting process to solve. Not that we'll be using power tools in the elementary library, but there are plenty of other ways to solve problems. Those things that have been ingrained in my brain, especially through this class, have been discussion board posts from others. One that stuck out to me was using hand gestures and sensory materials during a story time being more engaging to a child. The fact that what can be done with a 3D printer can often be done with much lower tech materials. And having that mix of levels helps the students think in different ways of how they will solve a problem. Also that you can work either way. You can choose a book to create a lesson, or you can choose an activity and find a book that matches. And neither one is right or wrong. There are just multiple ways to teach. The maker articles that I looked at, STEAM and research equal stream centers had to do with adding research to the STEAM model. and that is extraordinarily useful for the elementary library. The Expanding School Library Makerspace Edition was a great basic how-to and things to think about as you create a makerspace. Making the most of a makerspace was a really interesting article about an all-girls school that started a makerspace and how they aligned goals and how they were structure based. It was really neat to see the way theirs worked. The Identify Development in School Makerspaces Intentional Design was a lot about the process of changing a learner's identity and also focused some on equity-oriented design. And Space Makers, a leadership perspective on curriculum purpose of K-12 educational makerspaces was pretty much what that title is, that it was about the purpose and aligning with curriculum. So the Maker's Literature, I actually own the Kickstart Guide to Making Great Makerspaces. It was the one of the first books I bought when I started Makerspace. Maker Genius is something that we also have in our library that we have gotten a few ideas from. The Art of Tinkering, I am new to the UTech model, and so this is a book that I think would be very helpful for me. The Makerspace Librarian Sourcebook seems like a catch-all of how-to and good ideas of how to start one. And the Big Book of Makerspace Projects, I'm always a fan of new ideas and how I can find things to align with what's being taught in class. Makerspaceforeducation.com. I really enjoyed the fact that it was just all-encompassing of this is how you do it, this is the purpose of doing it. Theinstructables.com is really interesting to explore already uploaded projects that people have done. That and both the DIY.org were the two that I looked up for that project. Which was also great how-to videos. Mrs. J in the Library I had seen before, but was reminded of all the good makerspace ideas there, and callinggraves.org, great STEM activities. Other resources we can use are other librarians, the ones that I work with in my school district and ones in our class. Pinterest is one of my best friends when it comes to activities, and blogs that I subscribe to by other librarians or educators that share ideas and things that have worked well for them. So now looking at the space part of Makerspace, there are important considerations, primarily three: the location, storage, and seating that we're going to look at. So location, part of the library that is located near the nonfiction section, which is here and here, and that's biographies, that this already has tables and chairs over here. As it says, you must know your space. And I know that this is an ideal area because it is separate from the other half of the library, which is over to the left where you can't see, with a projector screen, and the circulation desk is right next to this area, and that door is where students come in, and so it's very separated. There are a lot of storage possibilities with the shelving and other areas right off to the left. And the proximity to nonfiction books that might interest or aid the students is also helpful, such as when we did origami, we could easily just grab some origami books from the very bottom of that shelf. My current storage is, I have the storage little cubbies cart that either got from Dimco or Scholastic, I also have an unused book drop that currently stores files, but that could be located elsewhere. And that book drop would be a deep, large storage area. Um, Clear storage containers, I have some for like IO blocks and manipulatives and Legos. And I have the shelving in my back locked office where I particularly will keep my Dot and Dash and Ozobots and Meeperbots and the things that I definitely don't want the kids to have access to. My desired storage would definitely be clear containers. I like the tubs that have the handles on them. And the top 12 tips of making a makerspace, two things that stuck out to me were that it's important to make sure it can be clearly labeled and also that it's accessible to children without them needing assistance. So cards like this or like this would also be amazing to have. Also, a cart to transport items kept in that locked office would be helpful. Seating, I currently have these wooden tables and chairs that are very sturdy, but because they are so sturdy, they are not easily movable. The issue with that is that there's not much ability to um, move out of this location, or we can kind of turn tables and that's about it. And also that they're very low to the ground, which a fifth grader pointed out today. My ideal seating is definitely more of the different kinds, soft, high stools, that is movable and more comfortable. My Marti Makerspace map would be these bookshelves that we have on the sides are the nonfiction. So these are my tables and chairs that you could see in the picture. And over here, I do have a carrel that is split with two different chairs and also another carrel that is facing it. All the green that you see are electrical outlets, and this actually has 6 outlets right here. So these two tables would be ideal for anything requiring electricity. For storage is what's in yellow. I have the bottom 2 shelves all along this wall. This would be that book drop if I wanted to use it. And this is the wheeled cubby storage that we have. We also over here have a very large trash can and a door that is not used. This goes out to the foyer. So that is the current setup and the basic idea of what I think would work well for our students with what we have. So the considerations for when I was thinking about this was a location that could be separate from that area where we do daily teaching and activities. Also that outlets and fire extinguisher nearby. I'm big on safety, so I liked that that was nearby. Tables to work at as groups as they collaborate, in an area that is with easily accessible storage and plenty of it, and there is a lot of storage over there, and also on another bookshelf adjacent to the biography one, I do have some other makerspace there. And while I want the tables to work out as groups, I also like the space for the kids to spread out in their groups. So they are individual projects being worked on. So how to pay for a makerspace? Big one is grant money. I was graciously given a grant by the Cleburne Education Foundation last year for the Demco Deluxe Makerspace bundle, and that is a lot of what we are using this year. Very excited for. Library budget that we have. I know some schools very much varies how much, and it definitely has to be a balance of supplies and books and then kind of makerspace. It's a balancing act there depending on your budget. I have read a lot about readathons, where it seems like some schools are doing very well with those, and so that's what we're looking at as a possible fundraiser. Book fair profits, that if your book fair does very well, some of that, particularly with Scholastic, can be used for Makerspace items. And that can vary from year to year, such as our online book fair did not do very well this year, but fortunately I had used most of our library budget to buy books. And then also, if you have a PTA or PTO, you can request funds from them. That money is for the betterment of the school, so it's a perfect place to request money from. Donation options. People can donate kitchen items. You can ask for straws, cereal boxes, coffee cans, used K-cups, bottle caps, tabs. And then there are more kitchen things like foil, plastic wrap. Everyone collects their grocery bags and plastic cups and paper bowls and cups. A lot of that is stuff that is sometimes left over from birthday parties. It doesn't have to match. It can be any size. Um, Food items from the kitchen. There's dry spaghetti, marshmallow, beans, the netting that goes over fruit, things like cupcake liners, and basic office supplies. A lot of this might have to be purchased if someone wants to donate, but even things like crayons when you get your child a new set, old crayons that we have lying around. Other things around the home, like toilet paper rolls and Q-tips and cotton balls. A lot of people have newspaper magazines delivered, plastic containers, shoe boxes. Another thing is toys, pool noodles, fishing line, marbles, toy cars, Legos, blocks, clay, Play-Doh. I've discovered that asking for donations or even looking at garage sales for Legos can be very helpful. And games, playing cards, Scrabble tiles, board games, puzzle pieces, doesn't even have to be a complete puzzle. Action figures, army men, game pieces, balloons. And then craft items, just like beads and googly eyes, which I know my students like to use on their origami when they make animals. Feathers, pipe cleaners. Um, some people that might be scrapbookers or aspiring scrapbookers will often have paper supplies, but stamps and ink pads, paint and paint brushes. Then there are the textiles and crafts like yarn and ribbon and fabric and buttons and string and spools. Then adhesives. You can ask for any type of glue, glue sticks, glue bottle, every type imaginable, duct tape, scotch tape, electrical, masking, Velcro clothespins, ties. Wood and cork. A lot of people that work with wood around their house will often have wood pieces lying around, or dowel rods, cork board, corks, and just other ideas of tissue paper, bubble wrap, tissue boxes, copper tape, crochet hooks, brads, foam sheets, old CDs. The donation letter that I wrote for our Marty Wrangler parents, the original copy of it you could not read very well, so this is another thing to it, but it basically says what a makerspace is, letting them know when their kids would have the ability to use these items, and that we would appreciate if they have the ability to donate the below things. I actually took this from someone else, but if it makes you think, what could someone make out of this? That's the kind of thing that we need. My Makerspace wish list. For first of all, learning robotics and coding is a higher tech makerspace item, but something that is essential in STEM education. So I had done a mobile storage cart, but Spheros and their activities in maths, cublets, squishy circuits. I actually have the Code and Go robot mice, but I do not have the activity pads for them. This wish list is based off what I already have in the library. So there are things like dot and dash bots that if I didn't have would be on my list. We do not have the Makey STEM kit. Also, just building implements assist in that engineering aspect of STEM, and they can provide an outlet for creativity in just free building. So I do not have any Kiva planks or activities. There's a marble run and other blocks. And also 3D puzzles and activities like origami call for using both sides of the brain as you visualize and create. So these two plus plus mini maker tube are actually 3D puzzles of animals and some origami paper as well. The next section was for using a 3D printer does help develop skills of learning different software. Which is why there is a 3D printer and printer filament. And the Osmo kits were designed for younger students specifically. So I got those for 6 to 10 and 5 to 10, and also an iPad mini because mine are too old in the library to support it. And many things can be created with duct tape and other basic tools. So I have multicolored duct tape and silver duct tape. Never seen cordless power scissors, but definitely want them now. Tape measures, protractors. Those are essential problem-solving tools that students will need. Painting allows for freedom and expression, and there are different sizes of brushes and paint on this list from Walmart and Amazon. Pretty much all of my things were from Walmart, Amazon, and I think some from Dimco. And then items like kinetic sand and Play-Doh that they allow for creating new solutions, and let's just stretch the mind with their creativity. And also copper foil tape and the LED bulbs are very common for use in electricity experiments. These are just some basic crafting supplies, as well as different threads and looms to learn knitting and working on dexterity and creativity. So just ink and stamps and beads and floss. The other thing is, what better way to brainstorm than with a dry erase easel and magic markers. So the total that I spent was $4,999.57. If you tell me I can spend $5,000, I will spend almost every penny. So when it comes to marketing my makerspace, there would be a one-page flyer I would send home. Maybe with pictures and letting them know what our makerspace is and what the kids have been up to. Definitely putting it on Facebook. A lot of our more active parents post on Facebook a lot. I'm generally on there. A slideshow presentation for staff meetings. Most of our staff will be teaching during Makerspace time, and so they would not get the privilege of seeing what we're doing in there, so that they can become more invested in understanding. I'd love to be able to show them. Cleburne ISD, our school district, our PR director, would love to put anything about our makerspace onto all of our social media pages, and she also writes for the Cleburne Times Review, our local newspaper. And I also would make a slideshow for the kids to see because our current makerspace is based on how you, not just whether your work is done, but how you follow our social contract, which is our behavior agreement that everyone signs, not just based on if your work is done already. So who's going to be in on the fun? It's going to be every child every week during their weekly library time does some form of makerspace, a lot of book and build activities that we have. And then there are 12 to 16 kids from each grade level every Friday on a rotating basis. So like I said, it's not just based on work, it's based on citizenship, and we will rotate for about 4 students per class every Friday. Um, we want to make sure that everyone can be involved. So that is why it is a citizenship based for our ELL students who are generally slower in getting their work done so that they can be just as involved as everyone else. So assessment of how we can assess maker spaces. Part of it could be presentations, having them explain their thought process and can they convey it to their peers. Fulfilling requirements. This is fundamental in project-based learning that they can show if and how they've met all the required aspects of the project. Then there are the journals, having the student keep a journal during the process, and also encouraging them never to erase any failed attempt, but more annotate what they might need to alter for the future so that they can later do reflective writing, looking back on the process, what they have learned, the outcomes, and hopefully through that understanding that it is not the final product, but it's about the process. The other one could be badges, whether those be physical or digital, having those as representations of the knowledge gained. Also to do assessment, you can assess their collaboration skills. Were they able to work well with a group? Inquiry, do they ask questions that are showing those problem solving stages? And possibly a portfolio collection of their different projects and experiments to show a development of their reasoning and thinking processes. Their creative skills. Are they thinking outside the box and applying previous knowledge to new ideas? And also technical writing, because that's very different from reflective. Can they write a how-to manual on what they created in their makerspace? Being able to show the logistics of that is a different kind of writing that can be an assessment. So these are my references for the space guidance, and also these 3 articles help me with my assessment information. So thank you for listening. Very excited about my Marti Makerspace.